Hey everyone, I'm here today taking a look at the Jurassic World Legacy Collection Lost World T-Rex Ambush Pack from Mattel. Here's a look at the packaging. There's a picture of the T-Rex on the side there, as well as the Jurassic World Legacy Collection logo. And the dinosaur and the figure are all in the pack there. I've taken them out now. And you can't really see because of the reflection, but I'll take the inner part of the packaging out, and it's actually a really nice background. This is the back of the box, just showing what's inside: the figure, the vehicle and the T-Rex. Top of the box. And this is what I mean by the inside of the packaging. You've got a rain effect in the background there with the jungle. It looks really nice. It's kind of a shame that those plastic bits are stuck to the back, because if you try and take them off you end up ripping the packaging. But I'm going to try and kind of cut them off without pulling the glued bit off, because this is a really nice background diorama piece. See all the bushes and the trees there, and the muddy ground at the bottom. I think this is probably the best background we've had. I just love this rainy jungle scene. But I'm in my own lost world here. I always think it kind of looks like Isla Sorna around here. First up, we'll look at the Ian Malcolm figure that comes with this set. Now this is him in his Lost World design, so he's got the shorter hair, he doesn't have the sunglasses, got a bit of facial hair and a different outfit, a more kind of practical outfit with his jacket and that on rather than the stylish leather that he had for the first film. And even though it's nice to get a Lost World Ian Malcolm to go with the Sarah that we got last year, personally I'd have rather it came with Eddie Carr, because it would have made more sense for Eddie to have come with the vehicle. And it's just nice to get different characters. We've had loads of Ian Malcolms, so I don't really need another one. But it's got all the regular articulation that these Legacy Collection humans have, so I'm not going to bother going over that, because I think you all know the level of articulation on him. I just thought I'd give you a look at the detailing, the sculpt and the costume. It's a nice face sculpt. Look at the back of the jacket there, sort of creases and things all sculpted into it. Pretty nice. Not a bad figure at all. I'm not really here for the human figures that much, but I think the face sculpts are definitely getting better. I don't know if that really looks like Ian Malcolm, but there's nice detail to it, even if it's not necessarily a great likeness of Jeff Goldblum. For a comparison, here he is with the other Lost World figures that we've had, Sarah Harding and Roland Tembo. I really hope we get more of the Lost World cast. I mean, these are the main three characters, the most memorable from the film. But I'd still like to get more of the hunters, you know, Dieter Stark and RJ. And I'd like to get Eddie Carr and Nick Van Owen as well. And this set seemed like the perfect opportunity to give us Nick, or preferably Eddie. But I don't know if we will get those characters now, because they're not that well known or popular. But now onto the real draw of this set, and that's the car. And I was hoping we'd get this last year after they released the Hunter's Jeep, so I'm so glad we've got this pretty quickly. I love the design with the sort of deep darker green colour with all the camo pattern on. I've always liked this vehicle. All of the lights are sticker details, so if you're buying this in store you can check them to see if they're on straight, because some of mine are a little bit wonky. You can see that headlight there isn't quite on straight, which really bugs me. There's the tow cable sculpted on. It's a shame the tow cable isn't a working one like we had on the Jurassic Park Jeep a few years ago, because the winch on the front and the tow rope was quite significant in the film for this vehicle when Eddie was trying to rescue the others from falling off the cliff. Bars up the windows. The front doors open but the back doors don't. And you've got these storage containers on the back. You can't actually put anything in them, they're just there for detail. It's just hollow plastic on the back. Been kind of cool if you could open them up to put accessories in. You see the petrol cap on the back there, nice little added detail. Once again, the lights are all stickers on the back there underneath the bars and things. On the roof there you've got clear plastic for the glass sunroof, and then all those spotlights on the back, they're all stickers. that are put on there to give the effect of the lights. And then there's another glass dome at the back there that opens up. So you can have an action figure sticking out of the top there. There is a peg on the floor inside the vehicle that you can put in the bottom of the figure's feet to get them to stand more securely, but they hold in there pretty well if you just plop them in like I have there. Then you've got the front doors that open. I find the best way to open them is by using the wing mirror, which is also a sticker, by the way, in there. It's really hard to get it open otherwise. I couldn't get my fingers in there. I don't really have any fingernails, but I found it difficult. There's a lot of really nice sculpted detail in there. Like on the inside of the door, you've got the door handle and things all sculpted on. And then inside the vehicle, there's loads of little buttons for like the aircon and the radio and things like that, and the steering wheel. Even the little air vents and things on the dashboard are all sculpted in. It looks really nice. You can see it better from this side. I love the detailing. This is probably one of the best interior details we've had on any of the vehicles. You can see the glove box and everything, all the little dials. It looks like the inside of my car, actually. And then you can seat two figures in there. One driver and one passenger, and then one figure sticking out of the top, as I showed you earlier. It's hard to show you the figures through the glass because of the reflection. You can just about see them in there. And then the back of the vehicle here actually comes off. You can pull that completely off. And that's because there are two cars like this in the film. One that has the back on like that, and one that's open at the back. Though I did notice in the film, because I watched it again yesterday after getting this, that on the car that's like this, it does have one of these storage boxes on the back there. So it would have been nice if you could unclip the bottom storage boxes off of this and put on there, or if the bottom ones stayed on and just the top ones came off. I can't say it really bothers me that much, to be honest, but for people who are a bit more of a stickler for accuracy, that might bug them. But it's completely open up at the back there. And you can see there are no seats in the back, and the back side doors don't open. But in that space you could put a dinosaur. So if you wanted to have them transporting the baby T-Rex because it's injured or something, then that fits in the back there nicely. On the underside of the vehicle, it's got sculpted details, so if you want to have a T-Rex or something tip it over, it still looks good. I appreciate that. The tyres are hard plastic, they're not rubbery or anything like that. Now for a comparison, here it is with the Hunter's Jeep that we got last year, which you can see is a little bit taller, but the new vehicle is a little bit longer than the older one. And I have always loved the Lost World vehicles. It would be great if we could get the big camper van thing, that 2-trailer kind of research station van, because that would double as a playset as well as a vehicle. That's what Kenner did when they released their version back in 1997, which unfortunately I've never been able to get. But speaking of the 1997 toy line, here's the original car from Kenner, and this isn't anywhere near as accurate. It's a lighter green, but it has got a really nice camouflage pattern on it. It's still a cool looking vehicle, but it's not as accurate. It's a bit more toyetic. The one thing I do like about this original one is that it has working lights. That would have been so cool if they'd have put working lights on this new one. But I'm sure if they had done it, it would have probably been double the price and advertised as a premiere item or something, or a crowdfunder. Even though those LED lights don't cost anything, that would have been so awesome to have had working lights on the new vehicle. So that original one's got an open roof as well. The original was a lot bigger because it was designed for taller figures. And lastly now we have the buck T-Rex finally. We got the doe back in 2019 I think it was, so it's been a while waiting for the buck to be released, but oh boy, it's a bit of a disappointment to me. It's a reuse of that same T-Rex body we've had over and over again, which I'm not that keen on anyway, I never was. It's too small, and really the buck should be bigger than this, and I think it deserved its own unique sculpt. The only new things are the head. And I'll bring the doe in here so you can see the differences. All of the head is new. This top part of the skull and the snout, the jaw, and this back part of the head that connects to the neck is all new on this. So I'm glad that they at least gave it a bit of a new sculpt, and it does look better than the older one. And it's nice to have the buck and the doe differentiate from each other a little bit at least. They both have the same action feature where you press the button on the back of the head and the mouth opens. It's a lot smoother on this new one than on the old one. Though you can see that on the original, the tongue is a separate piece, but on the new one, the tongue is just sculpted on the bottom of the mouth. So that kind of seems like they've cheaped out a little bit there. Though the new one has more sculpting detail on the tongue. On the original one, it was pretty much just smooth plastic, but on the new one, there's a lot of detail sculpted into the tongue and texturing. So it looks nicer in that respect, but I think having it stuck to the bottom of the mouth as just a sculpting detail looks a bit cheaper. It looks nicer when the tongue is a separate piece, like it was on that original one. And now for the paint job, and this is where the new one really looks cheap, because there's barely any paint detail on it. I thought the doe looked kind of cheap with what little paint they put on that one. You can see there's, you know, black striping all along the back, and the underside of that one's a creamy colour. But on this new buck, you've got dark around the eyes and then a little bit of grey on the back there with a few yellow stripes, and that's pretty much it. The rest of it is all a solid green, and they didn't even paint the toenails. Look at that. I know that might not seem like a big deal, but to me that's really cheaping out. They didn't even bother to paint those nails on the feet, for crying out loud. It makes it look really cheap. On top of it being a reuse of a mould we've had loads, and it being so small. So I was pretty disappointed with that. And nothing demonstrates how cheap the paint job looks more than if I bring in the Kenner buck and doe that were known as the Bull and the Thrasher in the toy line. But look at the beautiful paint job on these. The sculpting might not be as accurate, but wow, the paint jobs are fantastic. I think they look gorgeous, the paint job on them at least anyway. You might not like the face sculpt so much, but wow, look at that paint detailing. The way it's faded in together, and there's so many little details and things. On the doe there, or the Thrasher. Compared to how kind of cheap looking the Mattel ones are. And I think in general, Mattel have done better than Kenner. As much as I love the Kenner line, Mattel have surpassed them now. They've been doing some great toys over the years. But for some reason, when it comes to the Lost World, I don't know why, but they just don't seem interested in these T-Rexes. Like, why can't we have a big T-Rex, one of the main T-Rexes of the year, be the Lost World T-Rex? But here they are with the recent Hammond Collection baby T-Rex we got. I guess technically they should be with the Legacy Collection T-Rex, but this Hammond one looks so much better, and it is the more recent. So as soon as these two have come out within a few months of each other, I thought I'd use the Hammond one instead. It does look nice having the whole family together, but I really wish Mattel would just make the Lost World T-Rexes bigger and have them in the main line as the main T-Rex of the year with a unique sculpt, not just keep reusing this small older sculpt. I mean, we've had so many different versions of Rexy from the first film almost every year, like it must be like a dozen Rexys now we've had. Why can't we just have one decent version of the buck and one decent version of the doe? Even the Hammond collection buck that they're doing isn't going to be released at retail. Instead, it's part of this crowdfunder, so you've got to pay like $300 or whatever to get it, if it even gets enough backers, which I'm not sure it will. But even though these two T-Rexes have only been in one film, they're just cool looking T-Rexes. I mean, kids like T-Rexes. I think you could release these, and even if people buying it don't recognise it as being from the Lost World, they just think, oh, a cool looking green T-Rex. Because green T-Rexes look really good if you paint them right, if you give them decent detailing, like those Kenner ones I showed you. So I think they'd sell just as much as doing Rexy over and over again. There's the app code for anyone who wants that. So that's the Tyrannosaurus Rex Ambush pack from the Lost World. If you're going to get this, I think the main draw is the vehicle. I don't know if many people are going to buy this for the Ian or the T-Rex. The Ian Malcolm figure's nice enough, but it should have come with Eddie. Like, the main scene in the movie that features this vehicle is when Eddie's trying to save the rest of the gang from falling over the cliff and the T-Rexes get him. So it would have made so much more sense to have him. Because otherwise, realistically, I don't think we're ever going to get an Eddie figure. I mean, I know he's not that popular a character. So just to get him out there, stick him in with a vehicle like this. Same with Nick Van Owen and Billy from Jurassic Park 3. They're characters that I'd like to get. But I know they're not popular enough to release on their own. So stick them in packs like this. Not just Alan and Ian over and over again. Also, the T-Rex is a real disappointment. Like, I really resent that this is the best we've got for the buck and the doe, and that the Hammond collection one is probably not going to get released, and if you want it, you've got to pay hundreds of dollars to get a whole big crowdfunding set that you're probably going to have to wait 2 years before it's even produced anyway. Ah, man. So we've got to just make do with these cheap, knockoff looking buck and doe T-Rexes. I don't know, is it just me? What do the rest of you guys think? Are you happy enough with these T-Rexes, with these buck and doe we've got? Do you prefer the Kenner ones, which are much bigger and have got gorgeous paint jobs? I do love the vehicle though. It was worth it just for the vehicle. It's pretty cool. And if you wanted to buy 2 of this set, then you could have one of each car from the film by just taking that back bit off. And I imagine these will come down in price eventually. Like, I had to get it straight away just because I like these things so much, I can't wait. But quite often the vehicles end up going on discount after about a year. So if they do, I might buy myself a second one if I can get it like half price. Also, who else wants a trailer set as a playset come vehicle? Because I was never able to get the original. It's really expensive on eBay now in the UK. I could have got it a few years ago for about 70, 80 pounds, but I just didn't want to spend the money at the time, which is really stupid, because now you're looking at 150 plus. They seem to have really gone up in price over the last couple of years for some reason. Thanks for watching everyone, and I'll catch you again soon.